The transport ship touched down on Titan with barely a whisper. Marcus Chen stared out the small window at the rehabilitation station, a gleaming structure of metal and glass against the orange haze of Saturn's largest moon. 12 years. 12 years since he had left Earth as a young lieutenant, eager and stupid. Now he was returning as Commander Chen, the last survivor of Squad 17, the man who held Kepler Station when everyone said it was impossible. He wished they had let him die there too. The other passengers filed out cheerfully, most of them civilians returning from work contracts in the outer colonies. Marcus waited until they were all gone before he stood. His left leg ached, the new synthetic knee still adjusting to his body. It was one of 43 separate injuries they had patched up after pulling him from the wreckage. Marcus had stopped believing in luck. The rehabilitation station coordinator was waiting at the gate. Marcus had expected some bland human bureaucrat with a fake smile and a folder full of programs he would never complete. Instead, he found himself face to face with something he had only seen in combat briefings. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that seemed to shift between pearl and pale blue. Her eyes were large and dark, without visible pupils, and her movements had a fluid grace that seemed almost like dancing. A Valkyrie, one of the empathic species from the Concordat. "Commander Chen," she said, her voice like wind chimes. "I am Saraka. I will be assisting with your transition." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "I don't need assistance. Just point me to my quarters." If she was offended, her face did not show it. The colors on her skin remained calm, swirling slowly like oil on water. "Follow me, please." They walked through corridors filled with other veterans, some missing limbs, others missing pieces of their minds. Marcus recognized the distant stairs, the way they held themselves apart from the civilians who worked here. He was one of them now, a broken toy being stored away until someone figured out what to do with him. His quarters were small but clean. A bed, a desk, a window looking out at the methane lakes below. Saraka stood in the doorway, not entering without invitation. "You will find a schedule on your desk," she said. "Group sessions, physical therapy, occupational training, all optional, but recommended." "Optional," Marcus repeated. "Good. I won't be attending." Now her skin did shift, darkening to a deep blue around her shoulders. Concern, he remembered from the briefings. The Valkyrie wore their emotions on their skin. "Many feel this way at first," Saraka said gently. "When you are ready, we will be here." "I'm not going to be ready," Marcus said, his voice harder than he intended. "Look, I appreciate whatever the Concordat thinks it's doing here, but I didn't ask to be saved. I didn't ask to be brought here. I did my duty. The war is over. Just let me be." Saraka was quiet for a long moment. Her skin had settled back to its neutral pearl shimmer. "The war is over," she agreed, "but you are still fighting." Marcus turned away, moving to the window. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you commanded Squad 17, Saraka said. "I know you held Kepler Station for 6 days, against impossible odds. I know you saved 3,000 civilian lives. I know that 47 soldiers entered that station with you, and only you walked out." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. "Get out." "I know," Saraka continued, her voice still gentle, "because my family was among those 3,000 civilians. My mother, my father, my 2 siblings, they were evacuated from Kepler Station 3 hours before the crash broke through the final barrier. They are alive because of you." Marcus turned slowly. Saraka's skin had turned a deep gold color he did not recognize. Her dark eyes met his, and for the first time since Kepler, Marcus felt truly seen. "So you are here out of obligation," he said bitterly, "paying a debt." "I am here," Saraka said, "because I understand loss. The crash destroyed my homeworld 2 years before Kepler. My family survived that, but 7 billion others did not. I know what it is to carry grief that has no end. I know what it is to wonder why you lived when so many others died." Marcus had no answer to that. He turned back to the window, his throat tight. "I will leave you to rest," Soraka said. "But Commander Chen, one thing you should know. My people, the Valkyrie, we feel what others feel. It is our nature. We cannot turn it off. And what I feel from you is not just pain. There is also strength, a will to survive that is remarkable, even among humans. Most species would have broken under what you endured, but you are still here, still fighting. That is something worth honoring." She left quietly, the door sliding shut behind her. Marcus stood at the window for a long time, watching the methane lakes shimmer under Saturn's distant light. He had made vows in the ruins of Kepler Station as he pulled himself through the wreckage of his command. Never trust anyone again. Never lead anyone again. Never care enough to hurt this badly when they died. Cold vows, made in cold blood, to protect what little of himself remained. But now there was this alien, this Soraka, who looked at him and saw strength instead of failure, who understood loss without trying to fix it, who owed him everything and asked for nothing. Marcus touched the window, his reflection staring back at him. 43 injuries, 47 dead soldiers. One impossible promise to never feel this pain again. He pulled the schedule from his desk and looked at it. Group session, 0800 hours. Physical therapy, 1000 hours. Occupational training, 1400 hours. All optional. Marcus crumpled the paper and threw it in the recycler. He had been taking orders for 12 years. He was done. But as he lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, he kept thinking about Soraka's golden skin, and the way she had said that humans were remarkable. In 12 years of war, fighting beside humans and aliens alike, no one had ever called him remarkable for surviving. They had called him lucky. Outside, Titan's night stretched on, and Marcus Chen tried not to dream of Kepler Station. 3 weeks passed, like a slow dream. Marcus avoided the scheduled sessions, avoided the other veterans, avoided everything except the observation deck and the hydroponic gardens, places where he could be alone with his thoughts and the ghosts that followed him. Except he was never truly alone. Soraka had a habit of appearing in the places Marcus chose for solitude. She never approached directly, never forced conversation. She would simply be there, tending to plants in the garden, or standing at the observation window, watching Saturn's rings turn slowly in the darkness. At first, Marcus found it annoying, then suspicious. Now, after 3 weeks, it had become almost comfortable. "You are very predictable," Soraka said one morning as Marcus entered the garden. She was working with a flowering vine from her homeworld, its blossoms a deep purple that seemed to glow. "You're stalking me," Marcus replied, but there was no heat in his words. "I am gardening," Soraka said, her skin rippling with amusement in shades of light green. "You happen to garden at the same time." Marcus almost smiled. Almost. He moved to the tomato plants he had been caring for, checking the soil moisture. Growing things was one of the few activities that quieted his mind. The plants did not care about Kepler Station. They only cared about water, light, and time. "Why tomatoes?" Soraka asked. "My mother grew them," Marcus said. The words came out before he could stop them. He had not spoken about his mother in years. On our apartment balcony in New Beijing, we had barely enough room, but she insisted, said nothing tasted like a real tomato grown in real soil. She sounds wise. "She died while I was at the front," Marcus said, his hands stilling in the soil. 7 years ago, stroke. They sent me a message, but by the time it reached my ship, she had been gone for 3 months. I never got to say goodbye." Soraka's skin shifted to a deep, respectful blue. "I am sorry." They worked in silence for a while. Then Soraka spoke again. "When Velthir Prime fell, we had no warning. The Kresh appeared in orbit, and began bombardment immediately. My family escaped because my father was attending a conference on one of our moons. We watched our world burn from a transport ship. 7 billion people, gone in a single day. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. How do you keep going after that? The same way you do, Saraka said. One day at a time. One tomato plant at a time. We carry our dead with us, but we do not have to carry them alone. Something in Marcus's chest tightened. Your people feel emotions, right? Other people's emotions? Yes, it is both gift and burden. Then you feel what I feel right now, Marcus said. All the time. How do you stand it? Saraka set down her gardening tools and turned to face him fully. I feel your pain, yes, but I also feel your strength. Humans puzzle my people, Commander Chen. We have studied your species since first contact, and we still do not fully understand. You endure things that would destroy most of us. You lose everything, and somehow find the will to continue, to hope, to build again. That's not strength, Marcus said bitterly. That's just being too stubborn to die. Perhaps, Saraka said, but stubbornness in the face of extinction is its own form of courage. After Velthir Prime fell, my people nearly gave up. We felt the death of 7 billion minds all at once. It nearly broke us as a species. We drifted in space, waiting to die. Do you know what saved us? Marcus shook his head. Human rescue ships, Saraka said. Your people found us, took us in, gave us shelter. And we felt something from the humans that we had never felt before. You had lost Earth colonies too. Earth itself had been attacked. Billions of your people had died. Yet instead of drowning in grief, you were angry, determined. You refused to accept extinction. That determination, that fire, it pulled us back from the edge. Marcus had not known this. The war had been so vast, so chaotic, that individual stories like this were lost in the noise. So you are here because humans saved you, Marcus said. I am here because I want to understand how you do it, Saraka replied. How you survive the unsurvivable, and perhaps to help others find that same strength. Over the following days, Marcus found himself seeking out Saraka's company rather than avoiding it. Their conversations ranged from gardening to philosophy, from war stories to childhood memories. Saraka told him about Velthiri culture, about their belief that grief was love with no place to go, and that honoring the dead meant living fully, not dying slowly. Marcus found himself at the memorial wall one evening, looking at the names of Squad 17 etched in stone. He had avoided this place since arriving, unable to face the weight of those names. But now Saraka stood beside him, her presence a quiet comfort. I dream about them every night, Marcus said. I see their faces, I hear them calling for help. I see the moment I gave the order to seal the blast doors, knowing that 12 of my people were on the other side. You saved 3,000 lives with that order, Saraka said. I killed 12 soldiers with that order, Marcus corrected. 12 people who trusted me, who followed me. Yes, Saraka agreed. Both things are true. You cannot erase one truth to make the other easier to bear. Marcus's hand traced over the names. Johnson, Ramirez, O'Connor, Kim. Names he would carry forever. On Velthir Prime, Saraka said, we had a saying. The dead do not want our grief. They want our joy. They want us to live the lives they could not. Every moment you spend in darkness is a moment their sacrifice meant nothing. That's not fair, Marcus said, his voice rough. No, Saraka agreed, her skin shimmering with sadness and warmth together. It is not fair. None of this is fair. But it is true. Do you ever get tired of carrying other people's pain? Every day, Saraka said honestly. But I also carry their hope, their strength, their stubborn refusal to give up, especially from humans. Your species is remarkable, Commander Chen. You do not see it because you are inside it. But from outside, we see something extraordinary. We see people who fall and rise, who break and heal, who lose everything and somehow find the strength to try again. For the first time since Kepler Station, Marcus felt something crack in the walls he had built. Not breaking, but opening. Just a little. "I don't feel remarkable," he said quietly. "Remarkable people rarely do," Soraka replied. They stood together at the memorial wall, as Titan's artificial lights dimmed to simulate evening. Marcus read the names one more time, and for the first time, he let himself remember not just how they died, but how they lived. The alarm broke through Marcus's sleep like a hammer. Red emergency lights flooded his quarters, and the station's AI voice echoed through the halls. "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Marcus was out of bed and pulling on clothes before his mind fully caught up. 12 years of military training took over. He was in the corridor within minutes, joining the flow of confused staff and veterans heading toward the command center. Director Yamada, a stern woman who ran the rehabilitation station, was coordinating the response. Her face was tight with worry as she briefed the assembled group. "We received a distress call from Mining Colony 7 on Rhea," she said, pulling up a holographic display. "They're under attack by Kresh holdouts, a splinter group that rejected the ceasefire. They hit the colony 40 minutes ago. Current estimates are 200 civilians trapped, including 60 children." Marcus felt his blood go cold. Kresh tactics. He knew them intimately. "The Concordat is sending a response team, but they're 8 hours out," Yamada continued. "We're the closest facility. We have 3 security officers and a handful of former military among our rehabilitation patients. It's not much, but those colonists don't have 8 hours. What do you need?" The words came from Marcus's mouth before he could stop them. Everyone turned to look at him. Yamada's eyes widened slightly. "Commander Chen, I did not expect you to volunteer." "I didn't volunteer," Marcus said, his voice flat. "I asked what you need." "Someone who knows Kresh tactics," Yamada said. "Someone who can coordinate a rescue with limited resources. Someone who can lead." The word lead hit Marcus like a physical blow. He had sworn never to lead anyone again. Never to be responsible for lives that could be lost. But in his mind, he saw 60 children huddled in a mining colony, waiting for Kresh soldiers to find them. "I'll go," he said, "but I'm not leading anyone. I'll advise. That's all." "Understood," Yamada said, relief clear in her voice. "I will go as well," another voice said. Soraka stepped forward from the crowd. Her skin was a determined shade of deep red that Marcus had not seen before. "Absolutely not," Marcus said immediately. "You're a civilian, a counselor. This is a combat situation." "I am a Concordat diplomatic envoy," Soraka corrected. "It is within my authority to attempt negotiation with the Kresh holdouts, and medical personnel will be needed for the injured." Marcus wanted to argue, but Yamada was already nodding. "She's right. We need every advantage. Chen, can the Kresh be negotiated with?" "No," Marcus said bluntly. "These are holdouts, fanatics. They'll kill everyone in that colony before they surrender." "Then we must try anyway," Saraka said, meeting his eyes. Her skin shifted to a softer gold. "And if negotiation fails, then at least I can help protect the innocent." Marcus recognized that look. It was the same stubborn determination he saw in the mirror every day. "Fine, but you follow my tactical advice exactly. No heroics." They assembled a team of 12. 3 security officers, 5 former soldiers from various branches, Saraka, Marcus, and 2 medical technicians. It was nowhere near enough, but it was what they had. They loaded onto a fast transport and launched toward Rhea within the hour. During the flight, Marcus found himself planning despite his vow not to lead. Old instincts took over. He studied the colony layout, identified weak points in the Kresh attack pattern, and formulated approach vectors. The other veterans naturally deferred to him, and before he knew it, he was giving orders again. The creche will have concentrated their forces on the main residential area, Marcus explained, highlighting sections on the holographic map. That's where the most civilians are. But they're methodical. They'll be sweeping building by building. Our advantage is speed and knowledge of their tactics. We go in fast, extract civilians, and get out before they can regroup. What about the creche forces? One of the security officers asked. Avoid if possible, eliminate if necessary, Marcus said. Our priority is civilian lives, not body count. The transport dropped them at the colony's edge. The scene was chaos. Buildings burned, alarms wailed, and in the distance, they could hear weapons fire. Marcus felt his heart rate slow, his mind clear. This was familiar territory. This was what he had been trained for. He split the team into 3 groups. Extract civilians, establish a safe zone, and defend the evacuation point. Soraka insisted on going with the extraction team, and Marcus did not have time to argue. The rescue was brutal and efficient. They found families hiding in sealed storage units, workers trapped in collapsed tunnels, and children huddled in a school basement. Marcus's tactical knowledge proved invaluable. He anticipated creche movement patterns, avoided their patrols, and guided civilians to safety through routes the enemy had not yet covered. But then everything went wrong. A group of children had been separated from their parents in the confusion. They were trapped in a recreational facility with a creche patrol moving toward them. Soraka did not hesitate. She ran toward the building, her translator already broadcasting a message of peace and negotiation in the creche language. Soraka, no, Marcus shouted, but she was already gone. Marcus followed, his weapon ready, his heart pounding. He reached the facility to find Soraka standing between the creche soldiers and a dozen terrified children. Her skin was blazing with colors, cycling through every shade as she used her empathic abilities to project calm and peace. For a moment, it seemed to work. The creche soldiers hesitated, their weapons lowering slightly. Then their commander barked an order, and they raised their weapons again. Soraka did not move. She spread her arms wide, making herself a shield for the children behind her. Marcus saw the creche commander's finger tighten on the trigger. He moved without thinking. Years of combat experience guided his body. He was across the distance in seconds, tackling Soraka to the ground as energy bolts screamed overhead. He returned fire, his shots precise and lethal. The creche soldiers fell, but one bolt had found its mark. Soraka gasped in pain, her skin flickering between colors. A burn cut across her side, deep and serious. "You idiot," Marcus hissed, pressing his hand against the wound. "You beautiful, stupid idiot." "The children," Soraka whispered. Marcus looked back. The dozen children were unharmed, staring at them with wide eyes. "Peterson, get these kids to the evacuation point," Marcus ordered into his comm. "I have a casualty." He lifted Soraka in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, her body designed for a lighter gravity. Her skin was pale now, almost white, and her eyes were unfocused. "Stay with me," Marcus said, and he was surprised by the desperation in his voice. "Don't you dare die on me." "Remarkable," Soraka whispered. "I told you, so remarkable." Marcus carried her through smoke and fire, through the chaos of battle, until he reached the evacuation transport. The medical technicians took over, working frantically to stabilize her. The rescue succeeded. All 200 civilians were evacuated. Only 3 creche soldiers survived to be taken prisoner. And Marcus Chen, who had sworn never to lead again, had coordinated the entire operation. But as he sat beside Soraka's medical bed, watching her chest rise and fall, none of that mattered. All he could think about was how the thought of losing her had torn him apart in ways that Kepler Station never had. His cold vows, made in the ruins of his old life, had been broken. He cared again, deeply, terrifyingly, and he did not know what to do with that. Saraka woke 3 days later. Marcus had barely left her side, sleeping in an uncomfortable chair beside her medical bed, ignoring the protests of the doctors and the curious looks from other staff. When her eyes finally opened, her skin slowly shifting from pale white to soft pearl, he felt something in his chest unclench. "You should be resting in your own quarters," she said, her voice weak but steady. "You should learn to follow tactical advice," Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice light. "I specifically said no heroics. Those children needed protection. You needed to stay alive." Saraka's skin rippled with amusement, despite her obvious pain. "You care. I can feel it radiating from you like heat from a star." Marcus looked away. "You saved a dozen kids. Of course I care about that." "That is not what you care about," Saraka said gently, "and we both know it." For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. Then the words came tumbling out, unbidden and unstoppable. "I made vows after Kepler Station. I swore I would never lead anyone again. Never trust anyone enough to be hurt when they died. Never cared deeply enough to feel this kind of pain. I built walls, Saraka. Strong walls. Walls that were supposed to protect me. But I climbed over them," Saraka said. "You walked right through them, like they were not even there," Marcus said, finally meeting her eyes. "And when I saw you in danger, when I thought I might lose you, those walls came crashing down. I carried you through that colony, and all I could think was that I could not survive losing someone else I cared about. Not again. Not you." Saraka reached out with her long, graceful fingers and took his hand. Her skin was warm, and where she touched him, colors bloomed across her palm. Gold and soft blue, swirling together. "I am sorry," she said. "For what?" "For making you feel again when you had built such careful defenses against it." Marcus laughed bitterly. "You are apologizing for making me human again?" "Pain is part of being human," Saraka said. "But so is love. So is connection. So is hope. You cannot have one without the other. My people learned this when we nearly died from grief. We tried to shut ourselves off from feeling, thinking it would stop the pain. Instead, it nearly destroyed us. The humans taught us that grief and joy are two sides of the same coin. You cannot run from one without losing the other." "I don't know if I am strong enough for this," Marcus admitted. "I barely survived Kepler Station. I survived by shutting down, by not feeling. If I open myself up again, if I let myself care, and then I lose you or anyone else, I do not think I will survive it a second time." Saraka squeezed his hand. "Do you know what I feel from you right now? Pain, fear, confusion." "Yes," Saraka agreed, "but also strength. So much strength. Humans do not see their own resilience because it is so natural to you. But I feel it. Even now, terrified and vulnerable, you are strong. You are not barely surviving, Marcus. You are living. You are caring. You are feeling. That is not weakness. That is the most courageous thing any being can do." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes, the first tears he had allowed himself since Kepler Station. "I don't want to lose you." "You almost did," Saraka said. "And yet here we both are, alive, together. Is that not worth the risk of pain?" Over the next week, as Saraka recovered, Marcus found himself examining his life with new eyes. He started attending the group sessions he had avoided for months. He listened to other veterans talk about their struggles, and for the first time, he shared his own story about the blast doors, about the names on the memorial wall. The other veterans understood in ways that civilians never could. They had their own names, their own blast doors, their own impossible choices. And in sharing their stories, Marcus found something he had not expected: community, connection, a sense that he was not alone in his pain. Saraka attended the sessions too, once she was well enough to walk. She shared the story of Velthir Prime, of watching her world burn, of the collective grief that nearly destroyed her species. The veterans listened in silence, many of them crying openly. "You feel what we feel," one veteran said, a woman who had lost both legs and her entire unit. "All the time. How do you bear it?" "Because I also feel your strength," Saraka replied. "Humans are remarkable. You endure nightmares that would break most species. You carry grief that would crush others. Yet you rise each day and choose to continue. That strength, that stubborn refusal to give up, it inspires me. It saves me on my darkest days." Marcus watched Saraka speak, her skin cycling through colors as she connected with each person in the room, and he realized something profound. She had not saved him. They had saved each other. One evening, Marcus and Saraka sat in the hydroponic garden, tending to the plants they had cared for separately and now tended together. The tomatoes Marcus had planted were heavy with fruit, bright red against green leaves. "I need to tell you something," Marcus said. "The Concordat has offered me a position, training the next generation of peacekeepers, teaching them tactics, strategy, survival. They want me to lead again." Saraka's skin flickered with interest. "What did you say?" she asked. "I told them I would think about it," Marcus said. "But I already know my answer." "Which is?" "I am going to accept," Marcus said. "Not because I have to, not because I owe anyone, but because I want to. Because maybe I can help keep some young soldiers alive. Maybe I can teach them what I learned the hard way. Maybe I can make sure that some parent does not lose their child, some squad does not lose their commander." "This is a good choice," Saraka said, her skin blooming with warm gold. "There is a condition," Marcus continued. "I told them I would only accept if I could choose my own support staff. I want a counselor who understands trauma, who understands loss, who can help these young soldiers process what they will face." Saraka tilted her head, her dark eyes searching his face. "You are asking me to come with you?" "I am asking you to work with me," Marcus said. "As partners, as colleagues." He paused, then added more softly, "as whatever else we want to be." Saraka's entire body seemed to glow, colors cascading across her skin in a pattern Marcus had never seen before. She was beautiful. "Yes," she said simply. Marcus picked a ripe tomato from the vine and held it out to her. "My mother used to say that nothing tastes like a real tomato grown in real soil." She was right. But she also used to say that the best things in life are the things we grow together, the things we nurture with care and patience. Saraka took the tomato, her fingers brushing his. "Your mother was very wise." "I wish you could have met her," Marcus said. "I feel like I already have," Saraka said. "Through you, through the strength she gave you, through the love she taught you to carry, even when it hurt." They sat together in the garden as artificial lights dimmed to simulate evening. Saturn hung in the window, its rings a reminder that even in the darkness of space, there was beauty, there was light. Marcus had built walls to protect himself from pain. But Saraka had shown him that walls also kept out joy, kept out connection, kept out life itself. Breaking down those walls had been terrifying. But on the other side, he had found something worth the fear. He had found hope. 6 months later, Marcus stood in front of a class of 30 recruits on the Concordat Peace Academy station orbiting Europa. They were young, eager, and terrified, though most of them hid it well. Human, Velfiri, Caraxian, and half a dozen other species, all brought together to learn how to keep the fragile peace that had been won at such terrible cost. He recognized himself in their faces, the determination, the naive belief that they were ready for whatever came, the confidence that would be shattered the first time they saw real combat. Saraka stood beside him, her skin a calm pearl color, her presence both steadying and empowering. They had worked together to design this program, combining Marcus's tactical expertise with Saraka's understanding of trauma and resilience. It was not just about teaching soldiers how to fight. It was about teaching them how to survive, how to lead, and how to come home whole. "I am Commander Marcus Chen," he began, his voice carrying across the training hall. 12 years ago, I was sitting where you are now, eager to serve, ready to prove myself, certain that I understood what war meant. I did not. None of you do, and that is not an insult, it is simply the truth. The recruits shifted uncomfortably. This was not the inspirational speech they had expected. "War will break you," Marcus continued. "Not might. Will. You will see things that haunt you forever. You will make choices that have no good answers. You will lose people you care about. And you will have to find a way to live with all of that." He paused, looking at each face. "This course is not just about tactics and strategy. It is about survival. Not just physical survival, but mental and emotional survival. Because the mission is important, but so are you. Your well-being matters. And I am going to do everything in my power to make sure as many of you as possible come home from wherever you are sent." A young human woman raised her hand. "Sir, what if coming home is the hardest part?" Marcus smiled grimly. "Then you come talk to Sarika. That is why she is here. This is Sarika, our head counselor and diplomatic specialist. She is a Valkyrie empath, which means she can feel what you feel. You cannot hide from her. You cannot pretend you are fine when you are not. And she will not let you fall into the same traps I fell into." Sarika stepped forward, her skin shifting to welcoming shades of soft blue and gold. "Commander Chen speaks from experience. He was one of the strongest soldiers in the human military. He saved thousands of lives, and when he came home, he was broken. Not because he was weak, but because he had never learned that strength includes asking for help. I made vows to myself after my last battle," Marcus said. "Cold vows. I promised myself I would never lead again, never trust again, never care again. I thought those vows would protect me. Instead, they were slowly killing me." He looked at Sarika, who met his eyes with warmth and understanding. "This person standing beside me saved my life, not by fixing me, not by making the pain go away, but by showing me that being broken does not mean being worthless, that grief and strength can exist in the same person, that caring about people, even knowing you might lose them, is not weakness, but the greatest courage there is." A Caraxian recruit, their scales gleaming under the station lights, raised a tentacle. "How do you balance caring with being effective? If you care too much, does it not cloud your judgment?" That is an excellent question, and the answer is complicated. Yes, caring makes decisions harder. When I gave the order to seal the blast doors at Kepler Station, I knew I was condemning 12 of my soldiers to death to save 3,000 civilians. Would that decision have been easier if I did not care about those 12 people? Maybe. Would it have been the right decision? Still, yes. Caring does not change what is right. It just makes doing the right thing hurt more. But that pain serves a purpose, Sarika added. It reminds you why you fight. It reminds you that every life matters. Leaders who do not feel that pain tend to make decisions that waste lives unnecessarily. The pain keeps you honest. Over the following months, Marcus and Sarika worked with the recruits daily. Marcus taught them tactics, combat theory, strategic thinking, and survival skills. But he also taught them the lessons he wished someone had taught him. How to recognize signs of trauma in yourself and others. How to support your squad emotionally as well as tactically. How to make hard decisions and live with them afterward. Sarika taught them emotional resilience, cultural awareness, and diplomatic skills. She helped them process the fear and doubt that came with their training. She created a safe space where they could admit their weaknesses without shame. Marcus found that teaching was healing him in ways he had not expected. Each lesson he taught, each young soldier he helped, felt like honoring the memory of Squad 17. He was giving these recruits the tools his squad had never had. He was preparing them in ways that might keep them alive. One evening, after a particularly difficult training simulation, Marcus found himself at the memorial wall they had installed in the academy. It listed the names of all peacekeepers who had died in the frontier wars. Squad 17 was there, their names etched in stone. "You still visit them?" Soraka said, appearing beside him as she so often did. "Every day," Marcus said. "I owe them that much." "You owe them more than visits," Soraka said gently. "You owe them the life you are living now. You owe them the students you are training. You owe them your healing." Marcus touched the names, his fingers tracing letters he had memorized long ago. "I used to come here and feel only guilt, only regret, only pain. And now? Now I feel gratitude," Marcus said. "They gave their lives so others could live. I am trying to make that sacrifice mean something. Every student who graduates from this program, every life we help save, is a testament to what they died for." Soraka's skin glowed warm gold. "They would be proud of you." "I hope so," Marcus said. Then he turned to her, taking her hands in his. "I need to tell you something." "You are going to say that you love me," Soraka said, her skin rippling with amusement. "I am an empath, Marcus. I have felt it growing in you for months." Marcus laughed, the sound surprising himself. "You could have said something." "I wanted you to say it first," Soraka said. "Words matter to humans in ways they do not to my people. I feel love, but you need to say it." "I love you," Marcus said, and the words felt like breaking free from chains he did not know he wore. "I love your kindness and your strength. I love how you see the best in people, even when they cannot see it in themselves. I love how you never gave up on me, even when I had given up on myself. I love you, Soraka, and that terrifies me, but I would not change it for anything." "I love you too," Soraka said. "I love your courage and your compassion. I love how you protect those weaker than yourself. I love how you turned your pain into purpose. I love that you let me in, even when every instinct told you to keep your walls up." They stood together at the memorial wall, two people from different worlds who had found each other in the aftermath of war. Around them, the academy hummed with life and purpose. Young soldiers training to protect the peace, counselors helping them stay whole, a future being built on the ashes of the past. Marcus had come to the rehabilitation station, broken and alone, determined to keep everyone at arm's length. He had made cold vows in the cold ruins of Kepler Station. But Soraka had shown him that cold vows could not survive contact with a warm heart. She had not fixed him. She had not erased his pain or brought back his dead. But she had shown him that healing was possible, that love was possible, that hope was possible. She had shown him that being human meant being capable of remarkable resilience, remarkable courage, and remarkable growth. "What are you thinking?" Soraka asked. "I am thinking about fate," Marcus said, "about how one person can change everything, about how if you had not been assigned as my coordinator, I might still be alone in my quarters, slowly dying from the inside out." "Or perhaps we were always meant to find each other," Soraka said. "Two broken people who needed to learn how to be whole." "Are we whole now?" Soraka's skin flickered through a dozen colors, settling on a warm, peaceful blue. "We are healing. That is better than whole. Whole things are finished. Healing things are still growing." Marcus pulled her close, and she rested her head against his shoulder, her skin warm against his. They stood together, in comfortable silence, watching through the window as Europa turned slowly beneath them, its icy surface catching the light of distant Jupiter. His fate had been changed by an alien who saw strength where he saw only failure, who saw hope where he saw only darkness. who saw a future where he saw only an ending. Tomorrow, he would stand before his students again. He would teach them tactics and strategy. He would prepare them for the horrors of war. But he would also teach them the most important lesson he had learned. That no matter how cold the vows you make in your darkest moments, no matter how high the walls you build around your heart, it only takes one warm heart to remind you what it means to be alive, to be human, to be capable of love despite the pain. Marcus Chen had survived Kepler Station. But with Sarah Khan, he had learned to do something far harder. He had learned to live.